gas companies are going to have to start paying a lot more if they want to drill on federal land. And you may be shocked to hear how little they've been paying all these years. In fact, the last time the U.S. government raised some of these prices was more than 100 years ago. Now, before I get into all of this, I want to thank my subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. If you want to vote too, make sure you subscribe to my page during my next live event, or you can follow these steps and you can subscribe right now. Okay, first of all, the U.S. government isn't just randomly jacking up these drilling rates. The Department of the Interior released these new rules because Congress directed them to do this in the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Second, you have to understand this is federal land that these companies are drilling on. That means this is land that is owned by the U.S. government and by proxy owned by all of us taxpayers. So in the grand scheme of things, Congress and the government are saying the taxpayers should be getting at least the going rate from these oil companies to drill on public land. Without further ado, here are the new rates. For the first time in a century, oil and gas companies will have to pay more in royalties for the oil and gas that they extract from federal land based on their total revenue received. So under this new rule, the government will receive 16.67%. That is up from the 12.5% that the companies had been paying for more than 100 years. That 16.67% is more in line with the rate being charged by states and most private landowners when they allow these same oil and gas companies to drill on their private land. The 16.67% royalty rate will remain in place until August of 2032, and then it can go up after that. The new rules will also increase the minimum lease bond amount to $150,000 and the minimum statewide bond amount to $500,000. Since 1960, oil and gas companies were only paying $10,000 on a lease bond. The higher bonding requirement is intended to ensure that those oil and gas companies meet their obligations to clean up their drilling sites after they're done drilling, or they need to cap that well that they abandoned, instead of leaving us taxpayers on the hook for the cost of cleanup of the leaking toxins that are left behind. Obviously, $10,000 isn't enough to clean all that up. Now, the people who support these changes mandated by Congress say it's about time the government charges oil and gas companies the going rate for drilling on public land. Don't forget, these oil and gas companies have hit record profits in the last few years, which I have covered extensively here on my channel. Supporters say this will bring in billions of dollars to the U.S. government to help offset the spending that we've been seeing and perhaps even bring down that massive debt. But climate activists criticize this rule, saying the Biden administration isn't going far enough to eliminate the production of fossil fuels. Instead, they say this rule encourages more drilling. And of course, the oil companies are not happy. They say that this may hamper oil and gas drilling in the United States and could make it harder for smaller oil and gas companies to drill on public land. So if you want to read these rules for yourself, I will email them out to you tonight in my News Girl News Roundup email, so make sure you sign yourself up.